So are carbs bad, or is fat bad? Should we have a low carb diet, or should we have a low fat diet, or a mixture, or does it depend? What is the best diet for us to have? And what kind of foods should we be eating to actually cause fat loss? And these are the kind of things we're going to look at today. So I'm going to use a few visual tools here to help explain how energy gets distributed throughout the body, depending on what we have, how it gets metabolized, how the body chooses where to get its energy from, and how we can use that to make sure that we are making the best decision when it comes to choosing the right diet for us. Because there are some really good reasons to have a low carb diet, and there are a lot of arguments put towards having a low carb diet. The main argument being insulin and sugar and simple carbs, and the reason that they think carbs are bad. The main argument for why carbs are bad is that when you eat carbs, you release this hormone insulin, and insulin drives energy into cells. And what insulin also does is it's been said to block or limit the amount of energy coming out of fat cells. So the more insulin you have, the less body fat is being released from fat cells. So if you want to release body fat from fat cells, i.e. lose weight, lose fat, then you've got to keep your insulin down, and therefore you've got to keep your carbs down to the point where, you may even have to enter ketosis and you have to do a keto diet. So these visual aids that I've got here are going to explain how that actually works. So what I've got is someone's body fat stores. This is 300 milliliters of body fat, let's say, that someone stores in their body fat cells. And body fat is stored in body fat cells. Carbohydrates are stored in glycogen stores. I'm going to move this one out of the way for a bit. And glycogen stores, when you eat carbs, it gets stored in the form of glycogen, and that gets stored in your muscles and in your liver, and it also gets used a bit by your brain. Protein doesn't really get stored, and we're not going to talk about protein in this case because it's not really utilized for energy. Protein's used to replace protein that's being used up in the body, and protein breakdown, building muscles and things like that, but it's not really used for energy. So we're going to look at fat and carbs mainly today. So let's say we eat 100 units worth of energy. And let's say we eat half and half, so 50% carbs, 50% fat. We do eat some protein, but we're just not considering it in this case. So what we do is we take 50 units. What I've got here is a little syringe, which has got it going up to 50. So I'm going to take 50 units of carbs, which is blue, and it goes into our bloodstream. So this is the carbs in our bloodstream now, and our blood sugar levels go up. What that does is it releases insulin, and insulin pushes those carbs into glycogen and into your glycogen stores. So me pushing this plunger is like insulin pushing carbs into glycogen stores. And it's basically saying, right, store that energy, and it brings our blood sugar levels down. So at the start of the day, we had no glycogen on our glycogen stores. We actually do have some energy in our glycogen stores, but simplicity, let's just say we start the day with no energy in our glycogen stores, and over the course of the day, we eat 50 units of carbs. We also eat 50 units of fat. So that's our intake of fat for the day, half of fat, and that gets stored in our fat cells. Just like that. So we've taken in 100 units of energy here. 50 carbs, 50 fat. At the same time, we're burning energy. And let's say we want to lose a bit of weight. And so for calorie equation here, if we want to lose weight, we need to burn more energy than we take in. We've taken in 100 units of energy. So let's say we burn 120 units of energy. And so I'm going to take out 120 units from our system here. Now, what insulin does is when we have insulin moving around our system, it does, the low carb guys are kind of right when they say that it restricts the amount of fat coming out of fat cells. But more accurately, what it's saying is that it is telling us that there is carbs and glycogen in our system that's available to be used. So instead of using the fats from here, we're going to first of all prioritize using carbs because they're an easier fuel source for the body to use. They're quite a premium fuel source, and the body likes burning carbs because it's already in the muscle ready to go. So over the course of the day, we're burning 120. So we burn our glycogen stores and we use our glycogen stores throughout the day, and it goes into our bloodstream and then we burn it. But we also burn body fat. So let's take 50 out of here. There's 50, and we burn fat. And because we're burning more energy than we're taking in, we also burn an extra 20. So I'll take this line up to the 20 line here, and we burn that extra 20. So what's happened over 24 hours? Over 24 hours, we have a net loss of 20 units of energy from our body fat stores. And if we repeat that over 5 days, we've got a net loss of 100 units of body fat. So in this tank here, we've had a 50 increase and a 70 decrease. In this one here, we've had a 50 increase and a 50 decrease. So that's what would happen if we had, say, half fat, half carbs. Let's say we're on a keto diet or a really low carbohydrate diet, and we only take in 20% carbs and 80% fat. So I get my carbs for the day. Here's 20. And insulin pushes that into the cells, into the glycogen cells. We also have 80 units of fat because we're a keto diet, and we put that in our fat cells. Insulin doesn't push fat into fat cells. They can just go into fat cells. Insulin's not required for that. Insulin's talking about bringing sugar out of your bloodstream into glycogen. But here we've got fat going into fat cells. So there's our 100 gone in again. Same calorie intake. Instead of 50-50, it's now 20-80. So our body fat stores have actually increased. But because insulin is low this time, it's telling us that there's not much glycogen available, and so we're going to have to use more fat. So I'm going to take whatever I do have out of my glycogen stores. I'll take the 20 out of there, and I'll burn them over the day. Your brain actually uses a fair bit of glycogen because your brain always does need some glycogen. And then we haven't got any left here, so we're going to get fat burning going on, and we'll take the remaining. If we're burning 120 and we've got 20 out of here, we take 100 out of here. So I'm going to burn 100 units of fat, which is a lot of fat burning. So what's happened now over the course of 24 hours? Over this 24 hours, we've still got a net loss of 20 units of fat. See what's happened? But in this situation, we've had more fat burning going on. In the first situation, we burned 50 plus 20 was 70. So we burnt 70 units of fat that day. In this situation, we burnt 100 units of fat that day. So in the low carb option, you could say, yes, there's more fat burning going on. That's true, but there was also more fat storage going on because we ate more fat. That extra fat burning going on isn't all body fat. It's a mixture of dietary fat and stored fat. The net result over the 24 hours is the same regardless. So it doesn't actually matter if you have high carbs or low carbs. You can see here that the net impact is going to be the same. You're going to have a net loss of body fat if you're in a calorie deficit.